So, so the journey got interesting when we started talking to U.S. publishers, and this is where I really saw the wilderness. And again, I don't take sides. I've chosen where I want to be with publishing, but I don't think anybody should do what I did. I think if you want to go to the major publisher, that's what you should do. Well, I was fascinated with some of the ideas that publishers had. Some of them wanted to change the title of the story. Who was it that came in the library one day and told me what a stupid name was for a book? I know you're sitting in here. I can't remember who it was. And that the cover was awful. And I agreed with you. I was like, yeah, well, no one's going to read it, so it's fine. And now it's like a common, there's a Goodreads review out there that it's like a wonderful 4-star review about how great the book is, but the title is stupid. And we've been commenting, I've gotten to know the reviewer, we've been commenting on this review for like 8 or 9 pages of people still coming in and saying why it's named wool, because of pulling the wool over your eyes. And we laugh about it because we've talked about the same thing for 8 pages, but we still have the same conversation. We're convinced that 2 people are going to get married in that thread by just meeting each other and hanging out. Yeah, I had a publisher that wanted to change the title. I had a publisher that wanted to, and these are the publishers you know, the major 6, now 5 publishers. One wanted to take it off of sale for 6 months while they redid it and launch it the right way, which is to not allow the readers to have it, but give it to the reviewers and the media and do the slow launch. And meanwhile, we sold over 100,000 titles at the time, and everyone knows this book, and people are reviewing it and talking about it. And I was thinking, am I really smarter than these people? Because I don't feel smart at all, and I feel like and my agent and I'm like, is this really what happens when you do this? And she's laughing. She was like, yeah, we have to deal with this a lot. So I kept saying, I'm just staying the course. My agent kept talking to publishers. We went 1 round, which was when we had these kind of ideas. By the 2nd round, the book had already hit the New York Times list, and we were getting much higher advances. And now people were willing to put up with the horrible name because there's no sheep in the book, and only vague references to knitting. So, in that round, they flew me up to New York, and I met with the publishers. I went in the big glass towers, and I was very impressed. And they tried to woo me in to sign with them, and I told them, how I was doing on my own, and I think a lot of them were startled, and they realized they didn't really have the leverage. And I was already I was showing up in bookstores, and I was being read all over the world, and I'd done this at 0 cost. I did the horrible cover art. I came up with the horrible title. I wrote the book, and I pressed a button, and it was available to anyone in the world who wanted it at a very affordable price. Had I signed with a major publisher, that price would have doubled at least, and my readership would have plummeted. And these are the things I was thinking about. And I was every time I had no idea if I was making the right choice. I don't want it to sound cavalier, like these were easy decisions. I would go home and talk to my wife, and we would agonize over, like, is everything going to stop after this? Is just my last chance to sign and do something? And it took a lot of courage and my wife's support to say, let's forge ahead and see where we can take this. So where it took us was the deal you heard about with the print-only deal. And we didn't beat anyone into submission. We just kept saying no to all the other deals that most authors say yes to. There's a lot of things in contracts that are just not terribly fair. They say what you can and can't publish. There are no compete clauses. Once you sign with them, if you want to write something and publish it on your own or with another publisher, you're barred by law. And a lot of authors will write under a pseudonym and publish with another publishing house with a fake author, kind of like J.K. Rowling recently did, just to be anonymous. But they'll do it to get around their contract. And I said, I published too quickly. Yeah, publishers only want, and they're changing on this a little bit, but they only want 1 book a year, and they want it to be in the same genre, and they want the same book over and over again. And I was having fun writing coming-of-age stories with, I was writing young adult science fiction with gay protagonists, which I guarantee if I submitted that to an editor, they'd say, can you guys critique that? That was Halfway Home that we did during my critique session, and I guarantee an editor would have said, it's great, just make the protagonist straight and people will actually read this. And I've enjoyed this freedom, to write what I want, publish what I want, make it as cheap as I want, and press a button and get it to the readers immediately. So we just kept saying no, and where I am now is I self-publish everything, and if a publisher wants to look at it afterward, they have to get in line behind the reader. The reader gets it first, then the publishers can look at it and say, hey, maybe we'd like to take a look at this, and yeah. And yeah, and you have to ask nicely. And it's worked out. Every decision I make, I think of myself as the reader. What would I want? And when they started writing emails saying we want more of this, oh, you like shorter works because you can finish them, and the hectic life everyone lives now, where getting through an entire Facebook post is a chore sometimes, and so I cater to that. A brief thing that I've noticed as a bookseller and a writer. So that's my journey. Now I'm doing well, and I've got 2 other books in the series. The third one and final one. The reason I'm telling you this is not a pitch. I don't expect anyone to read. You can read the first free book, and I'll be happy. But the third and final book in the series. This is the second one. The third one comes out a week from Saturday, and it's like I can't tell what it feels like. Well, a lot of you know what it feels like to finish a series. It's the sense of closure and of completing something. I can go on to write whatever I want next. Feels amazing, and so this is about the most carefree. Yeah, that's the second in the series. Yeah, you saw on the spine of that other one there was the Roman numeral 1, and that's one thing. Random House in the UK has been the coolest publisher to work with. Oh, you worked with Random House? They're very eager to do a lot of the unique things that indie and small presses are doing here, and they've blown it out of the water over there, and I've really been impressed with their cover design and the promotions they've done, and sending me over there to promote the book. It's been incredible. So the third book is coming out, and I'm really excited to have that sense of finality. My mom and I, we were up till 12:30 this morning. I did a live signing last night it's a Google Hangout with YouTube. I'm just figuring this stuff out for the first time, so it's not like I'm some tech-savvy wonderkind here. I was like my second or third Google Hangout ever. And so we put the laptop up, and it was just anyone could tune in while we're signing books. And a lot of people are tuning in while I'm signing their book, and I would do stuff for them in their book. And we started at 6, and we went till 10 o'clock, and that's when it maxed out at 4 hours, the YouTube stream. And then we went another 2.5 hours, and so we've got a car full of these books to send out today. It was a lot of fun having that bonding experience with my mom. My mom, by the way, is one of my first editors. Yeah, so she's the reason. Yeah, no, she deserves some noise. I'm sorry for the mic. Yeah, my name is Gabriel. Her name's in the covers of the books. What did I give you red pencils for Christmas last year? How selfish was that? So I could see all of her corrections better. We've done crosswords together as just a habit for decades. We always do 2 each and pass them back and forth, and we can get up to Wednesday, and I think we've probably done a couple of Thursdays, but we're not that great at them. But it's a great way to bond, and she taught me to read, and I credit her with my love of literature. And even when we didn't have a lot, we always had books, and always went to the libraries and bookstores. And stop crying like that. You're gonna get me all weepy. The Post and Courier we did a lot of in Charleston. They were syndicated, I think, from the LA Times or the Chicago Tribune. Yeah, we're not that great at them, but I cherish the time that we spent doing that, and now we get to make books together. And she's even read my zombie book, which I thought was very brave of her. My wife hasn't even gotten through it. So what I've seen as a bookseller, and then I'm going to take your questions. I want to make sure we talk about some of the stuff you actually care about. There are a lot of books out there that do well that people can't believe do well. And what I've noticed, and with the critique group is good at this too, I think plot is so much more important than prose. And I don't know that this gets enough credit, but we strive to be beautiful writers, and I think the books that do well are the ones that tell a great story, even if the writing is imperfect. And the writing that's perfect but doesn't tell a good story, no one reads. And that's the one thing that I've learned from what readers enjoy of mine. It doesn't always feel like it's my best writing, but it might be the most compelling story. And I just offer that as a tidbit to, when you guys critique my work, I remember, and I didn't take the advice that I should have. Someone said you should get rid of the prologue, start with the action right at the beginning. You have a great first line right here, but it's buried, 10 pages in. And it was the right advice. And I realize now that the good writing before that was also boring. And it's something that's affected my writing. It's something I think I started learning from you all. And I think it's important to realize when people say, I like this book, and you read it and you're like, the writing is no good. Well, that's not what readers are really after. If you can do both, fantastic. Yeah, well, my sister, who's a Molly, it's been an inspiration in my life. Someone mentioned, we're talking about Lisa's book, but someone mentioned a blog post that she wrote on my website that I thought was inspiring this last week. She's a very strong girl, and it's easy to write about strong characters when you have strong people in your life. But I think that's what I've seen in the publishing world. That look, we're having a bestseller is a lot of luck. It's a lot of timing. It's the right story at the right time. I feel fortunate to have had the success that I've had. But I think what's going on right now, where the author has control of their material and they can make it available, it shouldn't surprise us because it's happened in so many other industries. Indie filmmakers flourished when the tools for editing and shooting became cheaper, and the tools for distributing it, like the internet, became essentially free. The same thing happened with music. Malls just don't have music stores in them anymore, and people can use GarageBand and a Mac and mix an entire album and put it up on iTunes. And it's this democratizing effect of technology. And I think the publishing industry, and the same things happened with cameras going digital. The publishing industry might be the last to go through this because it took a device that read like a book, getting in people's hands, that actually sped up the adoption of digital books. So I think it's the most exciting time, probably since Gutenberg, to be a writer and to be a reader. I feel very lucky to be here witnessing it all, like whizzing around me, and I do feel like a tourist in this whole adventure. But I've seen some things, I can relate some things. I don't know if it's truth or knowledge or any of that, but I'm happy to take your questions.